see the consequences and the risky. What Iran announced several times, we don't war at all, but we are ready for any options.
Now remember, at the heart of the negotiations is Iran's nuclear program, particularly its uranium enrichment activities. While Tehran insists that the Oman-mediated talks will be centered solely on its nuclear program, Washington wants to discuss Tehran's backing for militant groups in the region and its ballistic missile program. However, remember, the topics of discussion in today's talks remain unclear. As before the crucial talks, Tehran issued a broadside. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi set the tone, saying that the country has entered diplomacy with open eyes and a steady memory of the past year. In fact, Araghchi also said that equal standing, mutual respect and mutual interest are not rhetoric, but pillars of a durable agreement. Meanwhile, remember, the US President Donald Trump has publicly emphasized that diplomacy is preferred, but he has not ruled out military options if negotiations fail. Iranian leaders responded with stern warnings of retaliation should the US resort to force. Now, in the latest, Tehran has showcased its advanced missile capabilities. Its long-range Khorramshahr 4 hypersonic ballistic missiles have been deployed for the first time in the so-called underground missile cities. As per US estimates, Iran has the largest stockpile of ballistic missiles in West Asia. The arsenal comprises multiple missiles which have a range of 2,000 kilometers. Sejal, for instance, is one of the most potent missiles as it can fly at over 17,000 kilometers per hour. Ghadar, Khorramshahr and Khyber can also fire munitions 2,000 kilometers away. Senior Iranian officials say that missiles and launchers have already been prepared in anticipation of a potential surprise strike by the US. Reports are also indicating an increased military cooperation between Iran, Russia and China, especially after the 12-day war in June. With tensions reaching a fever pitch, will these negotiations diffuse tensions, or will it take both sides closer to an all-out conflict? That is the real question that remains at the moment. Of course, we'll have to see, wait and watch what happens in these negotiations. But remember, even as we speak right now, there are details that are still trickling in from the Iranian side as to what exactly happened in this particular meeting. As for the American side, no word from there yet, but there are details that are still emerging from Muscat. This is a very significant time for both Iran and United States of America, remember, with several reports also suggesting that it is Israel that is pushing America to strike Iran. But will that happen? So far, it hasn't happened because Donald Trump, as per reports, is not convinced of striking Iran. Iran, on the other hand, remember, has been reiterating time and again that should the US attack Iranian soil, there will be a befitting retaliation. But as far as arms and ammunition and military options are concerned, the US is already aware that Iran does have the wherewithal to actually counter American arms and ammunition and an American strike if that happens. But Iran is also careful of the fact that last year in June, there was a 12-day war between Iran and Israel. And as per Donald Trump, they had struck the nuclear strikes. Their nuclear capabilities were struck down by American jets. And therefore, there is, of course, a lot of to and fro that is happening at the moment. No clarity yet on what exactly was decided in this particular meeting as well. But of course, we'll have to wait and watch what really happens. The question that everybody is asking right now is whether Iran will agree to freeze its nuclear program. That is one of the topmost demands from the American side, to freeze the Iranian nuclear program and not have them enrich their uranium capacity. But so far as Iran is concerned, all through these decades, it has been asserting that their nuclear program is only for their own protection and for scientific purposes. All right, let me go across to Yusuf Jalali. He's a journalist. He's joining us from Tehran at the moment. Yusuf, as we speak right now, there are details that are still trickling in as to what exactly happened in this particular meeting in Muscat. But one of the demands from the US side has been to freeze the nuclear program of Iran and limit its enrichment capacities. Is there any sense that you're getting on ground in Iran whether Iran and its government will agree to such a demand? So far as we know, Abbas Araghchi right now has said that this has been a positive start to the meetings and the negotiations will continue.
Well, of course, what's significant for Tehran is that the other side seems to be serious in trying to achieve an agreement with Iran. And Araghchi, the Iranian minister, did an interview with the IRIB, the Iranian state broadcaster, and he said during the interview that saw this more than the latest round war. And what's important for is that the remain focused on the country's nuclear file and not to jump to other topics like the ballistic missile capabilities and Iran's support for the proxies or the militias, also known as the resistance axis. But Iran also demands that the talks remain away from any attention by the United States, meaning the country is demanding that the United States refrain from pressuring Iran militarily. All the military or deployment that is really building up in the region is annoying Tehran, and Tehran says that diplomatic solution on a diplomatic solution, not to just talk while just hanging the sword of Iran or above Iran's head. So this is what Tehran wants. Of course, Araghchi seemed to be positive. He said that the talks were carried out indirectly. The Iranian delegation communicated and delivered messages, discussed the Omani mediator, Minister Al-Busaidi, the Omani foreign minister. He was the mediator. The Iran minister talked to him. Mediator communicated Iran's message to the Americans, and this is what went on for back and forth for more than an hour. So all the talks seem to be fruitful for now, based on the Iranian foreign minister.
All right, Yusuf Jalali, thanks very much for joining us at the moment. Of course, as I told you viewers, there are details that are still trickling in as far as this meeting is concerned. And as we speak right now, we're getting in a word from the Iranian foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi. He's saying that he hopes that the US refrains from threats for talks to proceed. He's also said that talks with America focus solely on the nuclear issue. And I quote him, "The way forward will depend on our consultations with our capitals." That's Foreign Minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, saying this in an interview that was followed the first round of talks in Oman. Let me also give you a detail of how he has said that this is a positive start. But this is the Iranian side. The American side has not said anything on the first round of negotiations yet. All right, let's shift our focus to Bangladesh now. In 1 week, millions of people in Bangladesh will head to polling booths to cast their vote in a pivotal election for the country. From protests to manifesto releases, the political temperature in Bangladesh is high at the moment, ahead of the 12th of February elections. In fact, just a few hours ago, protests unfolded in the capital, Dhaka. Several dozen people have been injured in a fresh wave of unrest after clashes with security personnel. Hundreds stepped out to demonstrate in front of the chief advisor Muhammad Yunus's official residence as they demanded a pay hike announcement. Remember, these clashes followed after police used tear gas and water cannons to disperse the protesters. On the political front, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or the BNP, has released its manifesto one day after their political rival, the Jamaat-e-Islami, did so. State reform, equitable development, restoring the economy and solidarity are some of the key themes in the BNP manifesto. Despite all the buzz across Bangladesh, there is an uneasy quiet in Gopalganj, a district which produced the country's longest-serving Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina. For the first time, the Awami League's party symbol, a boat, is missing from the election posters in the region. A time-tested bastion of Hasina and her party. Many in the district speak of boycotting the upcoming vote because of the Awami League's suspension and Sheikh Hasina's absence.
We won't even go to the polling center in this election because the Awami League is not participating. I don't want to cast my vote at all. Whoever else is running doesn't concern us. I have supported the Awami League my whole life, and I still do.
Our candidate, Hasina, is not here. The Awami League, the boat isn't here. At the end of the day, we are her people. That's why we will not vote.
And our correspondent from Dhaka, Mohammad Zahidul Rabi, has sent us this report on everything that has been happening in Bangladesh through the day today. Take a look.
Days to go before Bangladesh's February 12th election, the mood among the voters is complex and evolving as they prepare to cast ballots in what many see as the most consequential vote in years. Across the country, there are reports that many voters remain determined to participate in the electoral process itself, even though traditional party allegiances are shifting and supporters of former ruling party are reassessing their choices. In Gopalganj, the hometown of Sheikh Hasina, the landscape has changed dramatically. For the first time in decades, the party's boat symbol is absent from the ballots following the party's ban from the country. Meanwhile, in Dhaka, tensions persist. Demonstrations and protests have unfolded in recent days, including attempts by some protesters to enter the residence of interim government chief Professor Muhammad Yunus. Also, there is an ongoing protest regarding the killing of Osman Hadi. As voters weigh their decisions, there is a strong desire among many for a peaceful and credible election.
Moving on, China's corruption purge has claimed another official now after high-ranking generals and a sitting minister. The latest target is a former Bank of China vice president. Lin Jingzhen has been expelled from the Communist Party of China, the country's graft watchdogs. The Central Commission for Discipline Inspection and the National Supervisory Commission made the announcement. The 60-year-old former banker was expelled for, quote, severe disciplinary violations. The Chinese state media has listed out Lin's various transgressions. Some of the charges are standard, such as illegally accepting money and gifts or seeking benefits while recruiting new employees. But Lin has also been charged with reading and distributing books which had serious political issues, and he's also accused of frequenting private clubs. Lin had worked for the Bank of China for decades and he retired in January 2025, but he was put under investigation last September for suspected violations of law and party discipline. He has now been officially expelled from the Communist Party of China. His alleged illicit gains have been confiscated and his case has been handed over to prosecutors for further review. Lin joins, remember, a long list of senior Chinese officials and former officials who have been purged. Chinese President Xi Jinping has pursued an anti-corruption crusade since he came to power in 2012. But the purge intensified in 2023 when China began to go after senior officials and military personnel. 65 senior Chinese officials were investigated in 2025 alone, including Lin. And now, the banker's expulsion adds him to the list of senior figures purged in 2026. This includes China's top general, Zhang Yuxia, who was second only to Xi Jinping in the country's military hierarchy. The rate at which the purge is going on, 2026, looks clearly set to be another busy year for China's graft watchdog. US President Donald Trump is on an endorsement spree once again, throwing his weight behind leaders of those countries that have elections coming up. Two cases are under the spotlight: Hungary and Japan. Earlier in the day, Trump endorsed Japan's incumbent leader, Sanae Takaichi, just 2 days ahead of the elections in Japan. Fully backing Takaichi's ruling coalition, the American president said that he would host her for a meeting at the White House on the 19th of March. In his Truth Social post, Trump said, and I quote, "Prime Minister Takaichi is someone who deserves powerful recognition for the job she and her coalition are doing, and therefore, as President of the United States of America, it is my honor to give a complete and total endorsement of her and what her highly respected coalition is representing." This is, remember, the second endorsement within 24 hours. On Thursday this week, the American president had endorsed Hungary's incumbent Prime Minister Viktor Orban for the latter's re-election bid. In a separate Truth Social post, Trump said, and I quote, "I was proud to endorse Viktor for re-election in 2022, and I'm honored to do so again. Viktor Orban is a true friend, fighter, and winner, and has my complete and total endorsement for re-election as Prime Minister of Hungary. He will never let the great people of Hungary down." Orban, on his part, has touted Hungary's successful relationship with the US as a personal achievement shouldered on his friendship with Donald Trump.
Aminek az az oka, hogy van egy nagy.
We were successful in America, the reason for which is that there is one big international topic on which we agree, and where they also need us, because they are big and we are smaller. And this is the war in Europe, the Ukraine-Russia war, the issue of peace and war. In Europe, we are the only ones who have consistently taken the position since the outbreak of the war that if Donald Trump had been the President of the United States in 2022, then this war would not exist.
2022-ben akkor ez a háború nincs.
For the US president, endorsing leaders across the world is normal behavior. While Trump's friends appreciate his support, other leaders also contesting the election slam the endorsements as election interference. And shifting our focus now to India, protests and curfews are back in the country's northeastern state of Manipur. Clashes broke out between the protesters from Manipur's Kuki-Zo community and the security personnel on Thursday night. They stretched into the early hours of Friday. At least 2 demonstrators were injured in the clashes. Kuki-Zo local bodies then called for a curfew in Manipur's hill areas, including the Kuki majority city of Churachandpur. The spark for the protest was the new state government that was sworn in on Wednesday this week. Manipur had been under president's rule for almost a year, but the Bharatiya Janata Party staked their claim and formed a new government there under Chief Minister Yumnam Khemchand Singh. He was sworn in along with 2 deputy chief ministers, one each from the Naga and the Kuki-Zo communities. Nemcha Kipgen is the Manipur new deputy chief minister from the Kuki-Zo community. It was her swearing in that caused an uproar in the Kuki-Zo majority areas of the state. 10 out of Manipur's 60 MLAs are from the Kuki-Zo community. 7 of them are from the BJP. All 10 of the Kuki-Zo legislators had withdrawn support from the state government in light of the communal clashes in the state that began in May 2023. Even Kuki members of the BJP had withdrawn support, demanding that issues plaguing the community be resolved. But now, 3 BJP Kuki MLAs, including the Deputy Chief Minister Nemcha Kipgen, have chosen to back the new state government. This is despite Kuki demands such as greater autonomy for the state's hill regions not having been fulfilled so far. And that is why Manipur's Kuki-Zo community has taken to the streets again. And once again, it seems that Manipur is on the cusp of turmoil. Shifting focus now, Waitangi Day. Celebrations took place in New Zealand. The indigenous people gathered to mark 186 years since Maori chiefs and the British monarchy signed the country's founding document. Top leaders of the country, led by New Zealand's Prime Minister, also attended the celebrations, but not all of it was smooth sailing. During the PM's address, several indigenous people in attendance were seen heckling him.
And they were nothing short of, late last year, Erica Stanford released the results from our first full year of structured literacy. And they were nothing short of transformational.
There has been tension between the Maoris and the current government in New Zealand over policy overhaul that the indigenous community is not in favour of. But incumbent Prime Minister Luxon's speech still had a positive overtone to it.
The work of actually getting outcomes improved for Māori, and that's what Māori want as much as non-Māori. That's what everybody in this country wants.
Remember, it is also election year in New Zealand with polls scheduled in November. For the current Conservative government, there is a lot at stake, especially after its move to undo policies and disband organizations aimed at improving Maori lives. The government had also introduced a controversial bill in 2024 to reinterpret treaty principles. While the bill failed in Parliament, it triggered protests and dissent among the indigenous community. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Race to Power. As always, we'll keep getting you news and analysis from across the world and here in India. For now, thank you very much for joining us. Bye-bye.
And welcome to a brand new edition of South India, a daily dynamic show that will capture the pulse of southern states.
By blending the special stories, the breaking alerts, and the culture developments as well.
As Steven Spielberg's Grammy win gets in the EGOT status, we look at the other members of Hollywood's coveted club. Know what's rocking the fashion world out of its comfort zone. And meet actors Aldous Hodge and Matthew Lillard as they talk about the second season of Cross. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, world is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India.